Hey guys, and welcome to our review for Gemini Man, directed by Ang Lee, starring Will Smith, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Benedict Wong, Clive Owen. My name is Scott Ellis. I'm joined here by Phil Clark.
Little green tea for the Ang Lee.
Ooh.
Good morning, gentlemen.
I'm sure Ang would appreciate that.
Also joining us is Adam Franey.
Here I am,
Welcome.
Gemini Man.
Yes, Will Smith is back
Will is back.
in another film.
×2.
Phil, can you give us a little synopsis of Gemini Man?
I can give you a little synopsis of Gemini Man.
Wow, thanks, Phil.
After a hitman tries to retire, his government attempts to get his younger clone to kill him.
Spoilers, man. Come
Gemini Man.
on. Gemini Man. I mean, this movie has been in development for a long time. I think the first script was written in the 90s, and it took them a long time to get this made. Many writers have come on, many directors. You know, I think there was a version with Clint Eastwood that Jerry Bruckheimer was going to be doing. But yeah, it finally got made. Will Smith. Phil, let's start with you. What are your thoughts about Gemini Man?
Gemini Man. That's a very good question, Scott.
Gemini Man.
I will start off by saying the things I liked about this movie.
Yeah,
and then
tell us what you like.
Some other stuff.
Pros and the cons. Right?
This is an action movie, obviously. Will Smith v. Will Smith.
Yes.
Will v. Will.
Will v. Will.
Correct.
I liked a lot of the action sequences. I thought there were a lot of there were some long shots, long takes that I was enjoying. There's some wrestling that at the time I was like, oh, they're wrestling.
Some wrestling.
Some wrestling. Good old fashioned wrestling. But
Some wrestling.
when you think about like young Will versus old Will and they're wrestling and you can still kind of see both young and old, it was like that's pretty impressive that they have both and the CG and all that. Yeah, I was like,
Right.
I don't know how they did that, but that was really cool.
They invented cloning.
Yeah.
They must have
cloned Will.
Yeah.
I liked
Then it's not impressive.
there's a motorcycle sequence where we're following some motorcycles around.
A dirt bike chase.
Very cool. Thoroughly enjoyed that sequence.
Was a chase.
I think visually this movie has.
Yeah, what do you think about the visuals? So this
It's
movie
in-
shot in 120 frames.
And we watched
We
it
viewed it in 60 frames
60
in 3D.
frames, 3D HFR. At some points, I thought it looked pretty good. At some points, I thought it looked pretty video gamey, if that makes sense. It kind of looked like I was watching a cutscene. But there were some like when initially Will Smith kills a guy, it kind of sets off the chain events that lead to the plot happening, and he's burning this guy's photo on his dock, and I was like, wow, this actually looks pretty realistic. It looks like very clear, very crisp, many frames. You don't realize how many frames there are until you're watching something with a lot, and you're like, holy shit,
It's a lot of frames per
it's a
second.
lot of frames.
120, some have said.
At one point in this movie, there's a line about 51-year-old man meat. And any time that you have somebody mentioning 51-year-old man meat, I'm out. Like that's
you're in?
I'm out.
I'm in for that.
You might be, but just and
This
it doesn't
isn't
matter
just
what
any
Not 50-year-old man meat.
51-year-old
51-year-old man meat.
Will Smith.
The writing in this movie is bad at points. Though I think the first 2/3 of this movie are okay, and I think the last third of it is very bad.
Very bad.
Very bad.
Interesting.
And that would be my take on it. It's hard to say that I disliked it, but it's very hard to say that I enjoyed this film.
Now, what if
Can you say?
this film came out in 1997
I would have
with
been.
what you just said?
It probably would have been a major hit in 1997.
Right.
Maybe not with the visual technology, but if they took this story and transplanted
They
it
would have
back,
probably shot it with like a well-known actor and then a younger actor.
yeah.
Did you guys see the sizzle reel that the guy put out of Clint Eastwood?
Yeah.
I can't remember. It's a pretty good director, I think. I think he did The Grey. Can't remember his name. Maybe Joe Carnish or something. Yeah, he tweeted on YouTube at the time.
That was the second iteration. I think there was a different iteration
Before that?
Yeah,
Holy
like
shit.
back when it originally. So that was like the 2010 iteration,
Yeah.
right? And then I think there was an earlier attempt, but I don't remember. I remember the younger version was going to be like Chris O'Donnell or something. I don't remember the older version.
Was it gonna be two different actors?
Yeah, like they're gonna do two different. That's how you would have done it in the '90s, right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been the
Interesting.
de-aging
The-
technology because it just didn't exist, right? It would have been,
Yeah.
it would have been Joseph Gordon-Levitt and
Bruce
Bruce Willis
Willis.
style, right?
I also want to say,
God.
to get back onto this movie a little bit, I found the movie very dark when the other clone was there. Like, it felt like it was always dark. In the,
You mean like nighttime?
literally,
Visually?
literally, there was not a lot of light in the shots that the young Will Smith was in. And then at the end of
Right.
the movie, there's this bright
Yeah.
walk through a campus, and it's
Right.
like, oh yeah, that's why the lights weren't on the whole time. Like,
Right.
it looked a little cringe.
Jaden.
There was in the original
Yeah.
like motorcycle dirt bike chase. That was during daylight.
Yeah, but he's
But he was
got
wearing sunglasses
and a hat, and like he's pretty covered.
Yeah.
shot from distance.
Yeah.
I feel like there was almost no CG applied to his face in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Could have
He
been a
just like
stunt double.
shaved or something. Yeah.
Whatever. I'll jump in. So overall, sorry, what you didn't like it?
He doesn't know.
It's
what he
like-
thought. Let me answer for him.
It's like fine.
Okay.
It's like like just
Two-time
completely
Academy
fine.
Award-winning director.
Because I did like the first bit. I thought the characters were pretty well fleshed out and they seemed realistic. And then the movie just kept going, and it was like, what is this?
Not messy.
But
Sloppy.
it started strong. I thought
Interesting.
it started, but
Pretty
a
well
lot
fleshed
stronger.
out, you say. That's
Well,
interesting. That
for
You
human
would say that.
characters in this bizarre. I was like, this seems.
interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't really like this film.
Ouch.
Visually interesting. I'm not gonna lie. Like seeing 60 frames, it definitely puts you
There's
there.
a lot of frames.
Like there's a lot of scenes where like
That's a good way to say it.
I'm trying to think of like a specific scene, but maybe like when they're like in a boat, driving a boat or something, or you see
Yeah.
over the shoulder and you see someone's hands doing something on a
Mhm.
screen, or if it's Mary Elizabeth Winstead in the like one of the early scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Just it puts you there. It puts you in that space, and it has this weird
Absolutely.
effect. This weird effect, right? But that being said, it highlights the realism of it, I guess. But whenever something unrealistic happens, it's tough because, like in some of the fight scenes, like young Will is like Junior, one might say.
Jaden.
Junior's moving fast, like unhumanly
Hustling.
fast,
Alien.
and
like,
it looks a little video gamey, like you said, like it's like,
Poor Aang.
oh, that's not real, like
Okay,
you
so
know,
that's not real.
it's like this
Okay.
looks very real. Everything looks very real visually.
Real, fake.
Real, and then like weird spinning on back kick, like craziness, like way
Shoots.
too fast.
Shoots
Spider
a grenade
crawling.
out of the air, off a mirror. Like
That was kind of cool, but
That's one of those like so cool but so fake.
yeah,
Like there's no way, but that did look cool.
like the grenade.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
but
I'm not a physicist, but I don't think you can.
I think
a
it would
bullet
explode
would-
the grenade.
Yeah.
I think you would just blow the grenade up by
I
shooting
don't
it.
think it would like bounce the grenade.
back. Although when it bounces back and like it like explodes and then there's just like dust flying everywhere. Then Will Smith like peeks around the corner and like the same shot. I was like, damn, that's actually.
You must have
Insane.
jumped.
There was like a little alcove there. I think that they hit him in, but it was like holy shit.
Mhm.
The fact that he was able to get out was.
Yeah, I feel like if this film, like it wasn't shot, like the cinematography wasn't anything to write home about.
I agree. Yeah.
Which I feel like if this film, like if it was like if 1917 was shot in
Deacons?
60 frames, that it would add something to it, right?
Dang.
Like if a director was like, I really want to put the viewer in this space, like put them into the action and, it sort of heighten the realism of it, that's a good opportunity to use a high frame rate. Whereas in a film like Gemini Man, it feels kind of weird, like, why are we doing this? Like, this isn't necessary.
I thought that myself. Yeah, I was like, this feels like an excuse to use this tech.
Yeah.
Like Ang Lee wasn't like, fuck, that's an amazing story. Like, I want to make that movie, and this tech is going to really enhance it. He was like, fuck, that's amazing tech. I really want to make a movie with that tech. I'll just use
Gemini
this."
Man
Like,
seems like a good premise.
ding! Gemini Man, okay.
And I think it is a great sort of high concept premise for a film, but I feel like we just didn't get into the characters enough for me to feel anything about the premise. I don't know, like it was very surface level. Like the plot was very thin to me. They didn't really delve into the cloning stuff too much, or
No.
even Clive Owen's character and his backstory. Like, why is he evil again? Just because they're closing the loop or something.
He's a bad guy.
Because he's evil.
It's just like I don't know.
What
You just don't.
You get?
You don't.
He's the villain.
It's very surface level to me, and I don't know. Like I think of a movie like John Wick or something, where I don't know. You get really invested
Right.
in his character's like revenge or how he's like on the run. It's like you get much more invested. But with this, I don't know. I
thought of John Wick a lot during this movie.
I just didn't feel it in this movie. I like Will Smith. He's okay.
Awkward pause.
I liked Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I thought she was
really
good. Very watchable. I liked her.
Benedict Wong was also there.
He was wild. There were some weird
He has a mustache.
scenes of him just watching soccer or something.
With smoking a cigar with a toucan beside him. And he's just
Yeah.
like, fuck.
You're just like, what am I watching right
It's
now?
like, why do we have this here?
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought.
So you loved it?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I did like.
Fuck you, Ang Lee.
I think overall I liked the visuals. I think that was a plus. But there were some moments where it kind of took me out because something crazy would happen and it kind of took me out of it.
So you overall you would
The 60 frames part, sorry.
Yes. Overall you liked the HFR.
Yes.
Cool.
However, the
Fun
Will
take,
Smith
apparently.
de-aging was really hit or miss.
Mm.
I thought at some scenes it
Agreed.
looked good,
Mm-hmm.
and then some scenes I'm watching his mouth and I'm like, that's
It's
weird.
not.
Something weird going on here.
Yeah, like dubbed.
Yeah, like just not. The movements didn't feel natural, which obviously is the biggest challenge. Is trying to make that, look natural when you're morphing someone's face.
Like lip quivering. I feel
Yeah.
like the lip quiver tech is not up to up to speed.
I don't know. It's just something. There's just still a little something glossy about the face. It's an uncanny valley. It's like I can still see it's fake.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't quite taken me out of it. But Adam, what are your thoughts about Gemini Man?
My thoughts, huh?
Yes.
Well, I agree with a lot of what's been said. I thought it was fine. I didn't love it, certainly. I wouldn't say I hated it.
I don't go that far either, but
I thought it was just a generic sort of action movie. Yeah, I'm going to echo a lot of what you both said. I think there's two scenes, like the daylight scene, walking around the campus, very PlayStation 4 video game character looking, and the scene that's it might be in the trailer. Yeah, it's in the trailer, that like panning around Clive Owen and like getting to young Will Smith's face when they're sitting on the bed talking. Just like the lips and the teeth just didn't. It wasn't like one to one. Like
Right.
there was a little too slow. I'm like, no.
When you see it opposite, like a real face,
Right.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
compared to Clive Owen's face, you're looking, you sort of recognize his face, you accept his face,
Yeah.
and then you look at Junior and you're like, there's something not
Like-
quite there.
Very ballsy. Like you're
Yeah.
really trying to flex when you put the human face next to the CG face, right? But like there's other scenes where it looked great. Like when he was eating the ice cream, I thought that looked amazing.
I feel like that was a classic like flex.
It was
Let's
a
have
flex.
him eat lick ice cream, and you can see the ice cream. Like,
Ang's like,
he's
oh.
like, let's get
Thug life.
We're gonna have him eat ice cream,
But,
and
like-
it's gonna really believe the character. Right?
And think like that compared to the campus scene, it's
Yeah.
like what the fuck happened?
It is
Did
night
we run
and
out of
day.
money
between those two.
or time or something. But yeah, like I said, hit or miss.
Is it me or did it not quite look like young Will Smith? Like I know
I know what you mean. Yeah,
I in my mind's eye
we've seen Fresh
you know
Prince.
Fresh Prince. I'm thinking Fresh Prince, Will Smith, but I don't know. There's just something about his face.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like young Will Smith, but at the same time,
It was
didn't.
like buff Will Smith. But
Yeah,
like
it's like he had like a
young.
rounder face or something.
It
You know what
was-
I mean?
yeah.
I don't know. There's something weird about that.
It was definitely not the face that you're used to.
Yeah,
thinking when you
it's
think
just
of-
something odd about it.
Do you think it's maybe because like we know young Will Smith is like as Fresh Prince?
I
Because we
think
have
so.
that image and it's like those two don't
Maybe.
really line up, so it's like that doesn't really look like him because
I
we
don't
know what looks
It
like
kind of threw me a little bit.
I'd
It
rather
did
not
throw me.
know.
yeah.
Like it doesn't touch Samuel Jackson and Captain Marvel.
Yeah, that
To
was
me, that's the untouchable de-aging thing.
yeah, very well done.
Like how there's all these scenes where it just like breaks your brain and you're out of the movie. You're like, oh, Captain Marvel. There's like none of that. I didn't question it.
I believed that character because it was de-aging from like 60 to like 40 or something.
Right.
So like it,
That's the thing.
it's
more
not as
subtle,
intense.
right?
It's very subtle.
It's not 50 to 20.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Which is like
51.
Though Will Smith in reality hasn't been that big of a jump from 20 to 50.
But if you de-age from 51 to
Excuse me, 51.
to like 30,
My favorite
maybe
ongoing joke.
30 or like 35-year-old Will Smith.
Sure, yeah.
That probably would have been more successful.
Mm-hmm.
But what did you think about the frame rates?
Yeah, so I thought it was really interesting. Like, this is the first movie I've seen shot in
Same.
high frame rate and projected.
Actually seen in a high frame rate.
Right. Like, obviously, I've seen The Hobbit, but I didn't see it in high frame rate. I watched it 24 frames. This is projected in 60 frames, and I thought it was, like, really an interesting tool. Like, exactly what you said. Like,
Pulls you into it. It's weird.
it pulls you in. Like, in combination with the 3D, it was also
Right,
shot
the
in
3D helped,
Yeah.
I feel like.
There's some really cool stuff, like the flashbacks of him was like drowning, like PTSD, like the bubble effects and the depth in the screen. You really feel like you're underwater.
Mm-hmm.
I thought there's a shootout in a convenience store where like there's slow-mo things flying off the shelf and like debris blasting at you.
Mm-hmm.
There's obviously Ang Lee's like a huge 3D guy. A lot of the 3D effects I thought were sick. And
Like it wasn't obnoxious. There might have been one scene
Yeah.
where like someone threw sand or something.
sounds very
There was
familiar.
one shot where I was like, oh, that's a little forced. But the rest
Yeah.
of it felt very natural. Like it didn't feel like out of the screen at you. It
Yeah.
was like
Whoa.
very subtle, which I'm kind of very excited for Avatar in that sense for the visuals because of this.
That's what I was gonna say. You said like, imagine if it like made sense with the story, like Avatar, where you're going into
Being brought into Pandora or whatever.
yeah. Oh my god, that would be perfect for this.
Well, it's apparently all we're getting off topic, but it's apparently all underwater, and a lot of it's underwater. Avatar too. It's like underwater. Tribes.
Bring your snorkel, cause
Yeah,
it's gonna
so
feel like you're
James
underwater.
Cameron loves underwater, like Titanic and all
I
that
know.
stuff, right?
I feel like you would like this movie actually.
But in this movie,
Yeah, I kind of think that like much like the de-aging, it was kind of hit or miss as well. Like I feel like it helped at times, like with the underwater stuff, certain scenes, but then some of the action sequences felt like they looked cheap almost, or like video gamey or something.
but it's like because it heightens the realism. It's like you can sort of tell if something's like set up.
Yeah,
Like if
It
it's like
looks
either extras or
set
like
piece.
car movements or like stunts.
mm-hmm.
You're heightened to that as well.
The extras
So it
in
makes
this
it harder
movie
to.
Are
were awful.
They are awful.
Like
yeah.
literally awful. in this
It's harder to
movie.
hide those
Yeah.
when you
have
sort of
the-
when you bring the viewer in so
Yeah.
much like that, right?
It's like you better be prepared if you're gonna shoot in high frame rate. Like some of the explosions are like very sparky. There's like fireworks sparks,
Yeah.
and like you can see like the chunk of wall like ready to fall off and stuff.
Right.
It like sort of, yeah, it's like showing too good of an image to where like they weren't prepared for it. Like they didn't match the clarity
Right.
in the image. But it was still super interesting, and I love that Ang Lee's like pushing the envelope. I'll take like experiments like that, even if they don't work 100%. Like I
I
think,
appreciate
appreciate it.
the effort.
yeah, I wish
It's
he
pushing it.
put some
pushing
effort
the envelope.
into the script though. Would have been nice, because the dialogue I thought was pretty horrible. Like a lot of it.
It would be okay for the 90s.
It'd be great for the 90s. Yeah, I didn't laugh once. Like all of the humor was like. I was stone faced.
There were some times when there's a line when he talks about growing up in Philadelphia where I think
Born and raised.
I was
Yeah.
just like, oh.
yeah.
Where he spent most of his days.
Yeah.
Showing up back.
I think I
That's so
literally
cool.
sighed.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had a physical reaction to it.
I laughed
despicable.
involuntarily. I was like, that's
Yeah, I
just
unintentionally
stu-
laughed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I laughed at how many times how Junior was fighting older Will Smith, with the bike.
Yeah.
I thought that was so stupid. I don't know. I just couldn't. I
Bike
just thought it was so
kicking?
dumb. Like, why?
Bike foo.
Yes, like what? Why? Just get off and punch him in the face. Like, what? You don't have to like. Let me just back up.
Tire burnout on the cheek.
Little
It's
just
it's kind of like Mad Max, like Thunderdome level. Like, wait, why would you fight like that? You don't just like get off and just like I don't know. You know what I mean?
Resourceful, man. You gotta use what's around you, man. Come on, bud.
I thought it was a bit goofy, but yeah,
It's
there's a
very
lot of
goofy.
unintentional laughs.
Yeah.
You know, none of the humor actually hit, right?
And we'll get into spoilers, but the climax I thought was not helped by the high frame rate. The convenience store scenario.
Well, let's give our ratings and we can get to some spoilers. I'm going to start off. I'm going to go, it's 2. 2 out of 5.
I'm gonna go 2.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Sorry?
2.5. Heavy two. Sorry.
That's what I thought you
Sorry.
said.
Sorry.
Yeah, heavy 2. Just only for the visuals and action.
Yeah, the action was enjoyable. I thought, like, you just like watch the action sequences. Other than the last one.
Bad, though.
Well, let's get into some spoiler talk. If you haven't seen Gemini Man, you've been warned. What did you want to mention about I guess we can talk about some of the plot stuff. I mean,
Indeed. Logic.
it's not a
breaks.
surprise that Clive Owen cloned. That's like literally in the trailer, right?
Is that a twist? Like, I don't even
think
know.
so. I don't.
No,
Because
I
it
don't
was played-
think
They played it as a twist during
Yeah.
the movie, but they obviously
so. Spoiled
clearly
that in the
spoiled it.
trailer.
It's
Trailer.
played as a reveal, but it's like, yeah, duh. Next.
duh.
Duh.
But I guess
Billie Eilish.
the like third act reveal is the fact that there's another clone and they've like edited his genes to like not feel pain or fear or anything like that. So there's like this other nameless junior.
I thought this was gonna be DH Clive Owen when he took his helmet off. Like when they were fighting, I was like, "Oh shit,
thought
this
it
is DH Clive Owen," and then it was like, "Oh no, it's just like edited Will Smith."
I thought it was going to be
I thought for sure it
anything
was Will Smith.
other than younger Will Smith.
Really?
Because we just got a full movie of that, so how the fuck is that any kind of shock or reveal?
I kind of saw it coming though, because
Really?
they were talking. He was talking about, you know, getting rid of this exactly what this character was.
Yeah,
like,
no
he was,
Like,
fear,
let me
no
clarify. I thought that as well, but I was like, well, that's too stupid. Obviously, no one would be stupid enough to do that.
I just thought it seemed so obvious that they would do that. That would just be another
But then, like,
another one.
like the music's building, like crescendoing.
But what else could? I guess Clive Owen would be the only other reveal. But like,
Because
I don't know what else they could
I thought they were gonna go
But
Clive
he's been-
Owen, and then they'd have like young Clive Owen, young Will Smith, Clive Owen, Will Smith, and just have like a 4-person fucking
Battle Royale.
Battle
Let's
Royale.
go, baby.
I don't know. I just thought the whole time he's talking about
Would've been
how
sick.
Henry
Would've
is like the best of all time,
The best.
Yeah.
so that it just only makes sense to just clone
Junior.
him, create like the
They should have
a
been
clone army. They should have done went full Clone Wars or whatever, Attack of the Clones.
I thought
Like,
like
just like
I know the budget.
just like full like
when
squadron.
he said, "Why didn't you just do an army of super clones?" and he was like, "Yeah, why don't we?" I thought he was gonna be like, "Bring in the clone army," and they were just gonna
and it's
all
literally like
yeah, literally.
With 1,000,000 more
Like,
on the way.
I
General Kirby.
robot fucking Will Smith just like and just like pans up to as far as the eye can see.
just
And he just I am legend.
like iRobot.
runs.
iRobot armies of like just
Yeah.
Will Smith.
Yes.
He's like walking through the
Like lean
army
into
of
it. Go
Will Smith.
go crazy,
Yeah.
Ang. Just go nuts.
go crazy.
But the only thing crazier than 2 Will Smiths
3.
is 3.
That was for me. That was quite a wet noodle.
Very wet noodle,
Mm.
yes.
It's like that's it. That's all you got. Just emotionless, fearless, painless Will Smith. I don't know.
Lame,
Um,
bud. But I was gonna say about the climax, if I may. The high frame rate I felt didn't do it any favors when they lit him on fire, and like his Power Ranger armor suit thing.
When he was like getting shot,
Yeah.
and it like looked very like,
Yeah.
whoa,
I
that's
don't
not
like
real.
that. Yeah, gross. Looked really gross, and just when he was on fire and everything, like I don't know, it just looked gross. Very cheap.
Like I said, I just think it's so hard to you're against the odds, right? In shooting in high frame rate because you
Yeah.
have to make it look so real.
You're exposing yourself.
Yeah.
Like it better look fucking insane. It better look
Mhm.
amazing. Like I feel like you'd need like a massive budget like Lord of the Rings level like props and stuff, like Weta Workshop,
Mm-hmm.
to make the costumes like on point, because like in this case they kind of expose himself.
Right.
Like maybe a regular frame rate wouldn't have like caught how like plasticky his like suit was.
Right.
But yeah.
I don't have much else to say except I think a lot of the cloning stuff in general, it didn't really make sense. Like the whole, like bee allergy thing, like that's not necessarily genetic.
Yeah, there's like head scratchers like that.
It's
There's a lot of head scratchers.
Like that's
The
environmental.
I don't know how.
It's like how it's like if you're allergic to peanut butter, it's like because of how you've been brought up. It's not necessarily genetic. Like
Yeah.
if you have a baby and you just feed them
Exposure.
like tiny bits of peanut butter over the years, they will not be allergic to peanut butter.
Yeah.
So how can they both be allergic to bees? It doesn't make sense to me. Like some of the logic is like, what?
I don't get how like by that like extension like they had the same like psychology. Like I get they're the same person, but it's like
Yeah.
they grew up in completely different environments, and Will Smith's like getting deep into his like
23.
reasoning.
You're a virgin, right?
Yeah.
You
You're
have
not
a
close to people. It's like
You have a scar on your fucking
Yeah.
knee, right? It's like, what? They get totally different lives. It doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense.
I mean,
Yeah.
Clive Owen said like he wanted to make Will Smith, but then not have the
these
broken
issues.
home
Yeah.
and like the daddy issues,
But
which we never really got into with Will Smith too much. But
At all.
But
Sick
if you
tattoo, though.
if you're gonna say that, if you're gonna go that way, you can't say that it's nature versus like one way is nurture
Yeah.
and one way is nature, and they're
No.
saying both at the same time.
Same thing.
Right?
Ang Lee logic.
We could probably. It's definitely broken.
yeah.
Yeah.
The logic there, but
But I don't think they were like, I really don't think Ang Lee was trying in that respect at all.
To talk about nature versus.
They're like,
nurture.
but Ang,
they could've-
this doesn't make sense. Silence.
there could
War
have,
frames.
that could have been where this movie went, is talking about that and how
Imagine.
different how actually they are different because of nature versus nurture.
Imagine
I
that.
don't know. There could have been this whole other existential level to this movie, if like Alex Garland did it or something. I don't know. But
gun.
no, they wouldn't have given him final cut.
Alex is too smart. No one's gonna understand.
Yeah.
Man. Fucking dumb it down a bit, would ya?
Yeah.
I'll call Ang Lee. Thanks.
Get hyped for devs. Yeah, I don't have much else to say.
Stupid, but
I think
fun.
that'll do it
Like me.
for our review of Gemini Man. Check it out or don't. Phil, where can people find you?
Find me on Letterboxd at Wicked Swami.
You can find me on Twitter at Franny25 and Letterboxd and Instagram at Upper Loudham.
You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Upper Late Podcasts. As well, if you like this video, leave a like on it. Leave a comment below in the comment section. And, of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. As always, keep it real.